just keep your hands high. They're telling him not to counterpunch.
Boom! Will Rahman get up, or have the tables been turned? Is it reversed?
7, 8, 9.
It's over. Lennox Lewis got revenge.
Has captured his revenge, and now it's Rock.
In boxing, some punches are thrown not to inflict damage, but to set up more powerful shots or to close the distance to an opponent. These are often referred to as throwaway punches, quick, light, and strategic in nature. At its best, the art of the throwaway punch is a deceptive move, designed to catch the opponent off guard and create openings for devastating follow-up shots.
Digs in deep, sucks it up, and gets it.
It isn't always meant to connect solidly, and sometimes works alongside feints as well. Instead, these punches serve more of a setup, keeping the opponent's guard high or drawing them into a defensive reaction, setting them up for the next, more powerful strike. By diverting the opponent's attention to one side, the throwaway punch clears a path for that unexpected follow-up. It's not about landing the punch with power, it's about setting the trap. Once the opponent is off balance, distracted, or lured into reacting, the follow-up punch can be devastating, as seen in the opening with Lennox Lewis's throwaway left hook, followed by crushing overhand right versus Rahman in his rematch. A textbook example of this technique, executed to perfection. But in this breakdown, I want to explore some of the legendary boxers from different eras who mastered the art and science of the throwaway punch, while examining various ways it can be used, and show how modern stars such as Canelo and Inoue have elevated this strategy to new heights. When throwing a power punch, it comes from the ground up. It's a chain reaction starting with the feet, moving through to the hips, and finally exploding through the hand. But for this chain to work efficiently, the body needs to stay relaxed and fluid. Throwing a lighter and quicker punch sometimes allows the body to stay relaxed or get into a position helping to load up the power shot with better balance and coordination. In other words, it creates rotational energy, giving the boxer's body a head start towards the next punch. Picture a catapult being drawn back, slowly building tension in the arm. When released, that tension turns into raw force, hurling the projectile forward. In the same way, a throwaway punch generates tension and primes the body, preparing for that explosive follow-up punch. When done properly, throwing a lighter, quicker punch can help a boxer maintain balance and coordination. By keeping their weight evenly distributed and their stance solid, they're also able to quickly adjust to the opponent's reaction. However, improper execution can lead to overextension or a loss of balance, making precision and awareness crucial when to do this. It's not just about throwing the next punch harder, it's about being ready for whatever comes next as well. You could argue a throwaway punch is as much about setting up offense as it is about staying defensively aware after throwing, such as keeping your head off the centre line or being ready to roll any incoming shots. Now that we understand the purpose and mechanics behind the throwaway, it's now important to show you some examples of this in play. Now that we understand the purpose and mechanics behind the throwaway, it's important to show you some more common examples of this in action and how to set up opponents with this. Let's start off with some scenarios for more orthodox fighters who have used this, and don't worry if you're a lefty, this can be used in southpaw versus southpaw matchup as well. One of the most effective setups in my opinion is the throwaway left hook, followed by a right cross or overhand. Now one of the greatest champions to use this technique successfully was the Cincinnati Cobra, Ezzard Charles. He would set up this by moving to his left, conditioning his opponent with his jab. Charles often conditioned his opponent to try jab back at him before he would unleash a throwaway left hook to set up the backhand. But the great thing about this, it can even move you into the direction of your powerful right hand. He also stepped to his left and threw the left hook to give him momentum, shifting Charles off the centre line, also making it harder for his opponent to counter while aligning it perfectly for a clean right hand. Think back to even Lewis's knockout over Rahman. This was exactly what he did, but it's also important to note that this was set up over many rounds, with Lewis identifying Rahman would look to parry the jab with the backhand, or he would even stick out both his arms when he threw the hook. Interestingly, Lewis had actually already set up this combo in the previous round before the knockdown.
Let's go to the fourth round and take a look at the knockout. You tell us what you saw. Emmanuel told you in the corner you can be more aggressive. What did you see?
Well, I notice every time I try and reach around him with a hook, he sticks his arms out. And more time, he's watching out for the straight right hand. So I kind of turned it around on him and threw a roundhouse right hand.
Another great thing about this combination of the throwaway left hook is that even if the right hand didn't fully connect, his weight once again would naturally transfer over to the front foot, placing him in the perfect position for the follow-up left hook. And this fluid transfer of weight from one punch to the next obviously generated that additional power. And of course, we've seen other instances of great champions using this very technique. Especially Alexis Arguello really understood the body mechanics of the throwaway left hook to set up his right hand, or the left hook. While Kronk-based trainer Gerald McClellan also used this, and not to mention Carl Froch used this for his knockout over Groves in devastating fashion. But another interesting way this was used was by Roy Jones. However, his was more about conditioning his opponent once again to manipulate their guard, and he did this versus Virgil Hill. Throughout the rounds, he would mix up a throwaway jab or hook before throwing an overhand right over the top of Hill's jab.
And you wonder what influence that will have on the judges. Even that punch.
Jones lands the left, but it's good punch at a time. Now there's the combination. Jab and right hand. Hill lands the right hand over the top in retaliation.
Good right hand by Jones, and I thought that momentarily stunned Hill.
And after conditioning him, Roy decided to do things a little bit differently and go under the jab, this time landing a painful body shot.
So far, it's Jones's power over Hill's jab. Whoa! Right to the body, down.
Okay, now we want to talk to you about the punch that ended. You're not noted as a body puncher, but throughout the fight, it seemed you were throwing right hands over his jab. At that occasion, it was under it. So let's take a look at a replay of what happened there, and you describe it. Was it a kidney punch?
I don't know what it is. That's a good body shot there. It's right on the side. I mean, it could be called whatever, kidney punch or whatever, but when I go up on this jab and throw my punches, I can't sit there and guide it. I mean, I don't care what he call it. In boxing, we have to take those. I get hit with them all the time. In fact, I get hit further back than that. That's a legal shot to me because that's under.
No, it is a legal shot. Nobody is claiming otherwise.
Okay.
But were you conscious of the fact that you had been throwing right hands over his jab and that he was opening up for that underneath?
Very much so. That's why that's the first right body shot I threw the whole fight, because I wanted to get him used to jabbing and stuff. I knew he was going to keep jabbing. I was trying to hit him over the top, but I said, since I can't go over the top, let's go underneath, baby.
But what I like about this knockout, although the right hand was key, it was the initial throwaway hook that helped to set this up in the first place. Now the throwaway jab is a subtle but effective way to close the distance and set up the right hand, as just seen with Jones. But one brilliant and classic example of this was Rocky Marciano versus Jersey Joe Walcott. Marciano noticed in the fight that Walcott would try and counter his jab with his right, so Marciano looked to set him up. As he closed the range, he used feints, and then a quick throwaway jab or even a feint to the body, pulling his opponent's guard down just enough to open the head. This deceptive move made Walcott take the bait and load up with the right hand, allowing Marciano to follow up with his own devastating right hand over the top. A great modern example similar to this would be Canelo Alvarez when he faced Amir Khan. By using a throwaway jab or throwaway hook to the body throughout the fight, followed by a right hand, Canelo conditioned Khan to anticipate the body shot, eventually creating the opening for a knockout right hand up top. This setup took patience though, as Canelo used it repeatedly until the perfect opportunity emerged as he noticed Khan was dropping his lead hand.
Khan, with his hand speed, would pose a riddle for Triple G. Kindle on a Cuba, the man who beat him.
Forced to acknowledge those Canelo.
So I don't think he's really hurt. And here you see a beautiful body shot right to the body. back. No, those are...
As well as taking away his energy and everybody.
In my opinion, the throwaway jab right hand is generally one of the most common moves we see in the squared circle. And the great thing in my opinion about this move is that it can be used with feints, with no intention of landing at first, but only for you to set up your backhand, while also allowing you to close the distance and throw it in different variations as well.
Because you've got to do something for him to... Oh! Brilliant right hand!
Again, the incredible knockout ratio of Jackson. And then right in that, Terry Norris is gone.
Norris left, carrying a little bit. He just drops it there a little bit and just gave enough. Another right in combination, and Terry Norris was gone.
But Alex, it's the first one, and I think it even grazes the glove on its way over. Just nicking the glove, and I'm afraid the second punches are after the fact. It was the initial right.
Another variation is a lead hand swipe to set up the right hand. This technique is used to disrupt the opponent's guard when you're closing the distance, as when you come in you're swiping the opponent's lead hand out position while opening up a direct lane for the right hand. Heavyweight Joe Louis employed this technique in his fight versus James Braddock, taking away his lead hand before landing a straight cross. Some more modern examples of this taking place are Deontay Wilder, who frequently used the swipe setup, usually pulling down their lead hand while stepping in with the right hand, leaving no time for his opponents to react.
Went across the Atlantic too. Oh, that shot! Price!
He heard a few boos from the crowd the round before, but this young man, the bronze medalist in the Olympic Games,
Bombs away for the bronze bomber.
what a shot.
Interestingly, we've seen the likes of Vladimir Klitschko even use this to set up a pathway for his right hand as well. I already slightly touched on this slightly before with Charles, but it's important to show some other examples of this in play. Sometimes fighters use the throwaway jab cross simply intending to set up an even more powerful follow-up left hook, and this combination disrupts the opponent's guard down the middle, usually pushing them back or drawing them into a defensive posture, such as narrowing their guard. And usually after the right hand, that weight naturally transfers over to the left side, allowing that left hook to come in with increased power. The initial throwaway punch acts as a decoy, creating space for a vicious left hook around the side of the opponent's guard.
The referee hasn't seen it yet. Oh, this is a foul fest now.
Again, Petway still doing his moving and using his quick counters. Simon missing some big shots, and it's a speed again. A 1-2, he ducks in and catches him clean, catches him looking, turns right into him. His head slammed into the canvas, Steve, which could have just added to insult to injury, so to speak.
Too many chances.
He's got to be careful. Solid shots by Ricardo. Looks like he's in serious trouble now. Is this it? The legs are buckled. Bellew's going for it. Bellew flat out here. What's Ricardo got? He's in trouble. He stopped. Bellew's done it. Everton got his apart.
Now this is probably one of the most common throwaway setups you'll see, and is used to distract the opponent and occupy their guard before firing the right hand. The other reason this is used is to help disguise your feet to close the range on your opponent, as the double jab gets you into that range to set up the right hand. However, it can also be used to even get on the inside, but you need to be careful using this too often, as it can become predictable at times, especially if you're not using things like feints or level changes or guard changes to keep higher level opponents on their toes. Now the more common throwaway of course is using your lead hand, which does make sense. For a surprise reverse 2-1 combination or 2-3 leading with the backhand can really catch opponents off guard. Not to mention, it helps generate power for a follow-up hook, as I discussed earlier with the 1-2-3 combination. While this is also a useful tactic in closing the range on your opponent as well, not to only land your hook or jab, but to get in the inside. Sometimes fighters will even use this opportunity to use a shift technique to attack from an opposite stance. Now if you're a smaller fighter trying to close the range, throwaway punches can also be a brilliant way to set up more powerful punches too. Obviously doubling up your jab is a way to do this, while even mixing up the target location, but there is other creative ways to do this. And maybe no one's better than Canelo Alvarez at doing this. Basically what he does is to make sure to throw a powerful jab after throwing his backhand. Basically a jab cross jab combination, but after the weight has been transferred to the front foot, it almost acts as its own straight punch. Naturally, opponents expect a hook to be followed up after the right hand and are ready to block this, so this can be a great way to make opponents indecisive in terms of what could come next. Manny Pacquiao also used a similar move in his fights from a southpaw position. Just watch his fights versus Thurman and Cotto. He used a throwaway jab to initially close the distance before going to the body and then coming back up top with a hard shot upstairs. While of course he was helped by his momentum coming forward to help generate the power. Throwaway punches are also vital in the sense of orthodox versus southpaw matchups, mainly in terms of setting up more powerful punches. I always thought the likes of Errol Spence did a great job in terms of setting up his right hook to the body against more stubborn high guard opponents, by using a throwaway jab cross to occupy the guard before going around the side of the guard, while the double jab would sometimes even get him into the outside position to throw the right hook in the first place. Someone like the monster, Naoya Inoue, is a master of this tactic, often using the throwaway lead hand to control the guard or manipulate it while advancing with his lead foot off the centre line. Once he slides forward and his lead foot lands, he's in the perfect position to drive his backhand straight down the line, maximising its power with the precise body mechanics as he twists in with the punch. In terms of body attacks, Inoue also excels at this position from an orthodox stance. By drawing an opponent's guard high with a throwaway, he opens up the liver shot, a target that can be devastating when left exposed. Another great example from a southpaw stance is Alexander Usyk, who frequently uses throwaway jabs against orthodox opponents, as he's always probing with it. And drawing their guard up or out of position, this tactic creates openings for him to land his backhand through the opponent's guard, to the body, or even around it. And with him mixing up the location of the backhand, it can make him very difficult to predict. Another great example of a southpaw is Zhang, who masterfully sets up the backhand with the lead hook, and vice versa. He uses throwaways with a keen understanding of body mechanics, allowing the initial punch to generate the momentum and position for his follow-up to land with maximum force. One common mistake, and one I've made myself in the past, is thinking a throwaway punch could be thrown in lazy form, as sometimes you feel the speed and the quickness of it and lightness of it is more important than the actual form. And that's tempting to assume because the throwaway isn't meant to land hard. It doesn't need to be sharp or precise, but that's the big risk, especially against skilled counterpunchers who can quickly capitalise on any weakness, such as using it at the wrong time or even overusing it. A throwaway punch needs to be controlled and balanced, just like any other shot. Even though it's a set-up punch, poor form can throw you off balance, disrupt your rhythm, and even telegraph your next move. Every punch, including throwaways, has a purpose and impact on your positioning, and it's just as important as a well-timed counterpunch. In boxing, every movement counts. Sloppy throwaways aren't just ineffective, they can be outright dangerous against high-level opponents. By using them as a setup at the right moment and not overusing them, you'll be sure to land something on your opponent. The throwaway punch is more than just a filler. It's a sophisticated tool that allows fighters to create opportunities, manipulate their opponent's guard, and set up those devastating follow-up shots. Whether it's an orthodox or southpaw, using throwaways effectively showcases a boxer's understanding of timing, positioning, and strategy. From legends like Cezar Charles and Joe Louis to modern stars like Canelo and Inoue, throwaway punches have proven essential at high-level boxing. It's a reminder that in boxing, success often lies not just in brute force to start off with, but in skillful deception and the ability to make your opponent react so you can set them up. Mastering this technique can be the difference between a block shot and a clean knockout. Whether you're a fighter or a fan, take note of these subtle yet powerful roles that the throwaway punches play in setting up boxing's most memorable moments. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to leave your favourite examples of throwaway setups. This has been Jamie from Boxing Life. If you enjoyed this, why not check out one of these videos. As always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.